We've been joined all day long, our coverage of this major announcement, by J. Michael Brown, the Chief of Staff of Simmons College of Kentucky, former Kentucky Justice Secretary. J. Michael Brown, you were on with Shay and I at 11 a.m. this morning for the special report. You left the station, you went through the 80-some-odd page report. What were you able to determine where the wheels came off in LMPD when it comes to the command structure? Where was the real problem of where the message was being lost for officers?
Well, it certainly appears that the Department of Justice has targeted that there was poor communication and supervision. And I mean it on both levels. In other words, the supervisors, the line supervisors, those who are over the patrols, those who are over the units who cover our streets, were not pushing down the correct policies, or at least not forcefully pushing down the correct policies to the officers on the street. But at the same time, information apparently was not getting up to the highest levels of the police department when there were incidents of potential misconduct, and thus you had a gap. The DOJ report clearly says supervisors have to be trained. It appears that officers actually will respond to training if they get it, but it comes down to expectations. We have to reinforce that we expect our officers to be knowledgeable of and carry out the Constitution.
So right now we know LMPD is down about 290 officers. After a report like this one, where we know the department's going to be under a microscope, every officer's every move being closely watched, how do you feel those positions? Are people going to be signing up to come work for LMPD?
Well, one of the things that we've seen, not just in Louisville but nationwide, is a reluctance of young people, and particularly young people of color, men and women, to want to join law enforcement, even if they had that idea when they were younger. And that's because they believed that law enforcement was part of the oppression, that they were not doing right. If we can demonstrate that we're going to have a police force here in Louisville that's actually going to help the community, I really believe that might be able to help recruiting rather than hurt recruiting. But that's going to be a tall order for them, for Mayor Greenberg and for the chief, to demonstrate that that's the direction we're heading in.
In the report, were you shocked by the number of officers who would raise issues over the years, back to the prior administrations under different chiefs, that we had issues, no leadership, we're not getting properly trained? And then also the specific examples of against white and black residents, the unconstitutional use of force.
I can't say I'm shocked by much anymore, but it is really alarming that, again, and to Shay's point, that's an example of some officers wanting to do the right thing. But when they see, if they come forward to try to do the right thing and they're frustrated and their efforts are thwarted, they either leave or they certainly don't help recruit other people. We have to fix this leadership, management, training level first. It's not going to be a matter of just waiting for new recruits. We don't have time for that. We can't have a dead period where we're not making progress. So we have to start with training the supervisors, making our expectations clearly known, and letting the public know, and all young officers know, that the Constitution reigns supreme.
So today's report not only about addressing the violations in law that they found today, but the root causes of those violations. What do you anticipate is going to be the most difficult one to really identify and then overcome?
The most difficult part of any of this is going to be trust. Will the public trust that there's actually going to be change after all these decades where they've made this stuff known and nothing has happened? Will the officers trust that they're going to be supported in wellness so that they come forward, and if they do the right thing, they won't be punished for it?
How do you balance the real need for police? Everybody's crying out for safer streets, safer neighborhoods. We hear it over and over. We're showing examples on these newscasts every day. The increase in crime, younger people committing the crime. Are you concerned that the police department will feel that they don't have the power to go out and do their basic work now?
That's going to have to be the message that comes from the top. There's going to have to be, and it's always a balancing test between the individual rights and the society's rights to be protected. But we do have a template for it, and the Department of Justice has laid that out, not just in this report, but in training throughout the country. We can look at the other cities, Chicago, Baltimore, Cincinnati, St. Louis, Ferguson, all the ones who have been through this before, learn those lessons.
All right, J. Michael Brown, thank you very much for coming in and for also zeroing in on a very lengthy report for us, the details.
Thank you.
We appreciate you. Thank you so much.